It is together at the table where we can talk across differences, we can understand our shared interest in helping rural and migrant members of our community, our neighbors. He reminds us that we are all neighbors, and we all do want to have a better place to live, that we do care about justice. At the table we can talk, at the table we are together, at the table we're the same. And I think that's a beautiful message. And I have a gift for you that I forgot to walk up here with. So you might as well can hand this to me. So I found this thing, this gift. It's a Lazy Susan. But it says, the best memories are made around the table. And this is from the board to you. And we hope you use it and think about what happens at the table and how you've brought us all here. That I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. That so many of us would not be here, a part of RMM, if it wasn't for you. And this will always be there, hopefully somewhere on one of your tables, to remind you that together, you've already made so much change. You've made this a wonderful organization. Thank you so much, Richard. Okay, next I'd like to bring up Lubin, one of our esteemed board members, very strong supporter of RMM, to do an important introduction. Thank you, everybody.
Today we are going to have a treat that you probably won't forget. We are going to hear from the most qualified, long-term serving public servant in New York. And he's been our Comptroller for 15 years, 16 years. And before that, an assemblyman, before that, a school board member on Long Island. He has always been a friend of the working people. And he didn't get elected and then learn how to deal with people. His parents taught him that. His teachers taught him that. When he started his public service, he was on a roll that we hope never ends. Tom DiNapoli has been there for us for many, many issues, many, many years. And in whatever title he was in, and whatever title he is in now as Comptroller of our great state, he has been the leader. And it's always interesting when you talk to him, he said, he learned from his parents and his teachers. I will bet he still knows the name of his fourth grade teacher. It wasn't me, I was a fourth grade teacher, but I remember that. I'll bet he still knows the name of his fourth grade teacher. And his job makes him the watchdog of fiscal issues across the state. So he's going to be there as we find problems in organizing farm workers. We're going to go to Tom for help. And he's going to be there for us as he has always been there. So ladies and gentlemen, I promised Richard I'd speak for less than 40 minutes. I'm used to people getting up and reading the speaker's resume. You don't need his resume. You know what this man does. And I never forget all the years I went to the State of the State speech by our past governor. And he introduced Tom DiNapoli, and immediately he had a sour look on his face. Not Tom DiNapoli, the governor. Because this man got more applause than anybody else in the room and continues to do that. So let's join me in welcoming Tom DiNapoli, our Comptroller.
Thank you, my friend Lubin. Are you having a great gala weekend? Yes, I heard yesterday was fantastic. Today is fantastic. Much to celebrate, especially celebrating 3 decades of outstanding leadership and inspiration that Reverend Richard Witt has given us. Give it up for Richard. all, in response to Alan Lubin's challenge, my 4th grade teacher's name was Mary Opal Clark, and she had a great Southern accent, and I remember her father. I could name all the other teachers too, but I won't do that. I want to thank Alan Lubin not only for his great introduction, but for his incredible service to all of us in New York State. He is a leading union activist, has been all of his professional career, one of the giants in New York State United Teachers, and he's at a stage in his life where he can pick and choose where he chooses to be involved and give his time and effort. And I think it's a real compliment to the rural and migrant ministry that Alan has chosen to continue to be a board member. And I'm honored because for our state pension fund, he's also serving on our audit committee. But Alan, I know your involvement with RMM is a real labor of love, truly, and we thank you for everything you do for all of us. Give it up for Alan Lubin again as well. You know, we're here to celebrate Richard, but I do want to, since I wasn't here yesterday, also take a moment to recognize the Rural and Migrant Ministry on a 40th anniversary. I mean, that's really just incredible. I want to commend your president, Jennifer Rogers-Brown, all the board members, the entire team, for your extraordinary efforts. What an incredible mission, what great success. So much to celebrate, and this weekend, the workshops, the panels, the discussions have just been wonderful. Jennifer, if I could ask you to come forward one more time, I want to formally present the proclamation. I won't read all the whereases, but just a small way on behalf of New York State and my office to recognize the 40th anniversary of Rural and Migrant Ministry and wishing you continued success and fulfillment. Thanks to you and the board for your incredible support and leadership. Give it up for Jennifer and the board once more. So it's been a very impactful and important weekend, but you know, the purpose of this luncheon is really to celebrate an extraordinary leader. Someone who, as you know better than me, has guided RMM's transformative work for the last 3 decades, 30 years, the Reverend Richard Whitt. You know, Dr. Martin Luther King, we use his quotes so often. One of his most used quotes is, "The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice." Richard, you must be exhausted because for the past 30 years you have been bending that arc towards justice for rural and migrant workers and farm workers, and you've done it successfully. Your unwavering compassion, kindness, and your abiding belief in our common dignity and humanity really has motivated all of us. You were reminding me of a conversation we had with Terry Kennedy a number of years ago, talking about farm worker rights. There isn't anybody you haven't talked to about the cause and the mission of RMM, and you have really stood shoulder to shoulder with the men and women who are doing the work, with the faith community, with labor, with university communities. You really have been ensuring that we can empower our migrant workers, our rural neighbors, our farm workers, and you have provided hope, you have provided opportunity, and you truly have changed the trajectory of countless lives with your dedication to your mission. You truly are doing God's work. And a lot of folks who wear the collar, we can't always say that. In your case, we can. And you are an inspiration to all of us. You know, as you all well know and you appropriately celebrate, RMM's 2 decades of fighting the Justice for Farm Workers legislative campaign that resulted in 2019 with the groundbreaking Farm Workers Fair Labor Practices Act, the right for farm workers to bargain collectively. What an incredible achievement. And that took a lot of effort. I was in the state legislature when it was not successfully being enacted. I remember Kathy Nolan was the lead sponsor at the time, a very tireless advocate for that bill. I know Michael Aronson from the Daily News is here, the Daily News championed that bill. Thank you, Michael, for your advocacy in that regard as well. And it's been said already, and I know Stu Applebaum was here yesterday from RWDSU, I spoke to John Durso, the head of Local 338, and at that table right there, we've got Local 338, RWDSU, UFCW, the first farm workers union to be certified by the New York State Public Employment Relations Board, Pindar Vineyards, and you're the ones who did it, right there. I think you should stand up for them. I know it's Richard's party, but let's stand up for the Pindar workers, the great achievement and historic victory, the first farm worker union to be voted representation in the great state of New York. And by the way, the women led the way, just so we should say that. All right, guys? It's an historic victory, and as you all know, the history of the treatment of agricultural workers, rural and migrant farm workers, largely black, brown, Hispanic, is not a good history, and poor white as well. Back to the labor victories of the New Deal, our agricultural workers were left out. And I can remember as a kid growing up in the 60s, Alan, Lubin, and I were reflecting on those years. You know, the struggle for civil rights and women's rights and gay rights and fighting against the Vietnam War. We had a little organization in my community on Long Island. We called it Students for Peace, and we took on all these causes. And Richard, I don't know if I mentioned to you when we had talked years ago, but one of the causes we took on, following what Cesar Chavez was doing with the United Farm Workers of California, is that we went around, picture this ragtag group of about 20 kids with long hair, picture me with hair at all, let alone long hair, and jeans, and we went to our local supermarkets on Long Island and we said, are you selling union grapes? Are you selling union lettuce? And that for me was the first exposure I had to the issue of farm worker rights. And I remember that vividly, and it was a real educational moment for me. And following the trajectory of the movement, and certainly what United Farm Workers tried to achieve, it really is mind-boggling to think in New York it took us so many years to provide justice and equality and union opportunities for our farm workers. And Richard, that would not have happened without your leading the way. It would not have happened without you doing everything that you did. And now, the Pindar example for farm workers to have a seat at the table, you know, look, we need, and Alan knows this well, his life's work, unions make an incredible difference in the quality of life to people. Without unions, we would not have a middle class in our country. Alan mentioned, you know, the lessons from my parents. My parents, they were high school graduates, children of immigrants. My mom was a clerical worker. CSEA ensured she had economic security. My dad climbed telephone poles. He was a lineman for the old phone company. He was a shop steward of the Communication Workers of America. Without my parents being in good union jobs, we would not have had the economic security, the opportunity I had to be the first in my family to go out of college. Unions made the middle class in this country. And the reason the middle class is so under assault is that unions are under assault. So it is really heartening to see what's happening with our farm workers unionizing. That gives us hope that this sector of our economy, these workers that have been left out for so long, the unions will empower you. And thank you, Local 338, for showing us the way. Thank you so much for that. There are still so many issues related to COVID-19, the impact that has had particularly on our rural and migrant workers. We just put out a report from our office that really spoke to the inadequacy of broadband access, particularly in our poor communities and our rural communities, and that's where our rural and migrant workers are getting hit double. We're going to continue to press our policymakers in Albany and Washington. We all need access to the internet. That's also part of economic justice as well. And to fight against the anti-immigrant, xenophobic intolerance we've seen in so many communities, again, RMM's work, the union work in this regard, is absolutely key. Bringing together people of conscience, of faith, people who care about labor. We need to continue to fight against racism and economic injustice and hate in all of its forms. And that work continues. And that's again where Richard's example continues to inspire us. We need more Richard Witts more than ever. Richard, clone yourself. There is science out there to do that, I'm told, right? I don't know if we want to experiment with you, but what you've done has really uplifted the voice for the disenfranchised, has given voice to the voiceless, and really led the way to push back against forces that would seek to divide us and to hurt people. Richard, how can we thank you for 30 years of devoted service? It's impossible to do that. Your unstinting dedication to really making this a more caring, inclusive state and nation is outstanding. Your moral clarity, your vision, your relentless focus, I mean, you really are a role model for all of us. And thank you for believing in a better New York. Thank you for believing in our rural and migrant workers. Thank you for believing in farm workers and their families, and believing in the importance of dignity. The dignity for every individual, the dignity of work, and making sure that there is opportunities for all. Richard, your work has made sure that no one is left out. And thank you for continuing to bend that arc of the moral universe towards justice. That has been and will continue to be our life's work. And if I could call you forward, I don't have a beautiful lazy Susan like Jenny had for you. And I do want to give you as well a small token of respect and appreciation and esteem that we have